G'day folks and welcome to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon and in this video I'm going to be talking about something called Yaktribe. Now if you're here for Necromunda like many of my viewers usually are, then you may have either heard of Yaktribe or you're using it currently in your campaigns to manage your gangs and campaigns in the modern game of Necromunda. If not, don't fear because this whole video is Yaktribe for beginners, so I'm going to explain all very shortly. But before I get into it, please do like, share, subscribe, comment down below to get those algorithms popping off for me, and of course check out the Patreon as well if you'd like to support me further and continue me on this endeavor to create the best Necromunda YouTube content out there. So before we get into it, I'm just going to talk about quickly what exactly Yaktribe is. Now this is a little blurb from the actual website itself. Yaktribe is a tabletop gaming resource and community. Here you can find info on your favorite miniatures and board games, find others playing these games in your area, manage your battles and tournaments, discuss the games on the community forums, and even manage your games online. So if you go to the sort of main homepage here for yaktribe.games, you will see that the first game that pops up on the homepage here, of course, is Necromunda. Now you have both versions here on the front page. You have Down-Underhive tools on the left there, and you have Necromunda tools, not to be confused with the Underhive tools, and on the right there, and that is the 95 legacy version of the game. What we're going to be mainly focusing on in this video is of course the Underhive tools from 2017. Now on the top right, what you'll see once you log in and create your own account, you'll see that there is your username there. We've also got an inbox and notifications or alerts next to that, and then a menu, a toggle menu. If we open that toggle menu, we have home, we have news, we have articles, we have browse games. In fact, if I just click on this quickly and have a look at the other games that are on offer here, of course, Necromunda being the absolutely most important one here. We have Necromunda, Kings of War, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Malifaux, Battlefleet Gothic, Mordheim, Toxic City Mall, Zombicide, Prison Outbreak, Shadow War Armageddon, remember that one, that was a good one, Gorka Morka, also great, Outlanders, Necromunda, and Blood Bowl. So these are all of some of the games that are supported by Yaktribe, and there is community resource available for each of these games, not just Necromunda. So it's worth pointing that out before we get right into it. So that's under the browse games. You then have a player meet section where you can try and get in touch with players in your area to see if there's anybody who's actually wanting to play those games. We have Underhive tools again and Necromunda tools. We then have a community forum, pretty self-explanatory there, but definitely a lot of activity that goes off in here. We then have the vault, which is an excellent section if you want to find cheeky little resources like tactics guards and all sorts of other stuff in there. There's loads of really good stuff in there available for free in the vault community content, that is. We then have your account button and a logout setting there as well. But that is the sort of home page there. Okay, so now we're in the main Necromunda Underhive tools section. As you can see over on the left, we have a few options here. We have Gang Manager, where you manage your gangs. Campaign Manager, where we manage our campaign. We're not going to be talking about that too much in this video. Gang Browser, where you can go and have a look at other people's gangs. We've then got Customize, which again is something that you're going to want to use if you're more of an arbitrator, and Settings as well. So the first thing we're going to do is just hit that Settings button and turn everything to green here. Over on the right, we have rule set, which is which rule set we're using, whether it's 2018 or 17. You're going to want to tick that so that we've got 2018. And then you've got restrict equipment, restrict skills, post-battle sequence, and show retired. So if you click those all to green, if you're starting out in Necromunda and you're not an arbitrator, you're going to want these all on so that your equipment and weapons and skills are all restricted to the gang that you're actually playing in the game. If you turn those off, you'll have access to absolutely everything, and that can be a bit confusing at first. But if you're an arbitrator, you're probably going to want to use that function later on. Head back to the main sort of Underhive section there, and you can see the next bit is the sort of gang manager bit that we're going to be messing around with today. We're going to be showing you one of my gangs, but also I'm going to show you how you can build your own gang list in this as well. But first, let's go and check out the gang manager page. If we click on that, we can see over on the left, I have a shit ton of my gangs. You won't have that if you haven't created any, but I have got absolutely shit tons in there. We then have gang creator there as well, with a quick gang create drop down menu, so you can select the type of gang that you want to select. You'll notice that all of the house gangs in here have two versions. They will have GOTU, which is Gangs of the Underhive. That's the version of the rules for that gang before their respective house books came out. A little bit confusing that, but the other option is the HOC or HOB or HOS, depending on which gang it is. That will be the House of books. So that if you've got the House of book, then you're going to want to use the most up-to-date rules for that gang. If you haven't got those books, then you probably want to stick with the Gangs of the Underhive version of that. But select your type of gang there and select a name. You can always change that later on, and that's pretty much that. I'm going to go in and show you, before we actually start building a gang, I'm just going to go in and show you one of my gangs. In fact, my current campaign gang here, Brotherhood of the Shrike. So this is the Brotherhood of the Shrike. These are a Chaos Corrupted Orlok gang currently in Cottontown 95 campaign. If you just take a quick glance at everything that's available here in the actual gang management page, there's a lot of information here, and most of this is, well, it's all very necessary, that's for sure. But in the main sort of left-hand box, we have the name of the gang and its gang rating there. As you can see, Brotherhood of the Shrike, 1785 in terms of their gang rating. We then have the details for the gang. We've got gang information, gang type, which the actual gang is, the Dominion type, how that gang interacts with Dominion territories and such in a campaign. We've got gang color. This you can edit and create your own color for your gang. I strongly suggest keeping it fluffy and actually trying to get the closest match for the actual color that you've painted them. This actually does matter in campaigns, because if you have the same color as someone else, it shows up on the map as looking like you both are the same gang. You then have the campaign that will show you which campaign you're in, and on mine I can hover over that and actually go and have a look at the campaign page from here. You then have credits. I've only got 5 credits at the moment because I'm very, very poor. We have meat below that, and that's where you will have your meat rations or portions in an uprising campaign if you play that. You then have your rating and cost there again, with your reputation below that. That goes up and down depending on whether you're losing or winning games. Mine's currently at 25. We then have wealth, which is your gang rating, including the amount of credits that you've got in your stash. So mine is 1790, including those 5 credits. We then have alignment, allegiance, alliance, and gang status. So alignment is outlaw or lawful. I am, of course, an outlaw because I'm a Tzeentch renegade Orlok gang. And my allegiance is to the Architect of Fate, aka Tzeentch, the Lord of Change. The next bit is alliance. I haven't got an alliance here, but this is where you can select your criminal, noble, or guild alliances if you do have those. And then you've got gang status lastly, which is whether you are active or retired. Over on the right, you'll see the short list of the fighter types that are in my gang. So it says a total of 11 fighters are present in my gang. We have a road captain, 2 road sergeants, an arms master, 2 gunner specialists, 3 gunners, and 2 greenhorns to make that up to a total of 11. So quite a few fighters in there. The next option, as you can see along the top, is territories and rackets. If we go into that, you will see that I don't have any special territories, but I do have 2 normal campaign territories. We've got a settlement and an Underhive shrine, as well as a campaign racket, which is the resurrection game. Lovely one, that one. But no point going into that in too much detail, but that is where your arbitrator will assign your territories and rackets, and that's where they'll turn up. Easy. The next thing is the stash. Of course, that will be where any weapons and war gear go if they aren't actually assigned to a fighter. So if someone dies or whatever, their stuff will go in there until you dish it back out again. Or if you buy something from the trading post, it will appear in here before you end up assigning it to a fighter. We then have vehicles. If you do play Ash Waste games, that's where your vehicles will turn up. We've got battles in here as well, which is worth quickly looking at. As you can see, the battles that this gang has fought in Cottontown 95 campaign. We've got 5 games here, and it tells you when they were fought. This is a really nice way of looking back at how your games went, what the scenario was, who you were playing against, what the gang ratings were, what the result was, whether you were the winner or the loser, and the territory that was at stake there. So I haven't won or lost any territories, but I have won 4 out of 5 games so far, which is pretty cool. The ones I lost against, I think, were corpse grinders. Very nasty indeed. The next bit, and probably my favourite bit about the gang details page, is the notes. Notes are great for putting in stuff like your tactics cards. So this is where I've actually recorded my tactics deck, just so people know that I'm never cheating. I've got my tactics deck in there. So if I pull out a card that's not in that list and someone goes, hey, that's not in that list, then they'll know that I'm being sly. I've then got, this is where I usually put, in fact nearly always, put a bio or a backstory or a bit of fluff about my actual gang in here, so that if anyone does come and look at this, they can see the fun fluffiness that I've put into here. So that's it for the sort of main details for your gang there. Over on the right hand side, you will find there are gang controls and the print functions here. And first, I'm just going to quickly show you the print functions and what that actually does. We've got gang sheet, gang cards, and gang cards large. Now I like to have a physical copy of my actual gang rules and list in front of me. So I will usually try and print off both the gang sheet and the gang cards. And what they look like is this. This is the gang sheet. If we look at the gang sheet, we've got all the details for your gang there, every single fighter in your gang, their name, their stats, everything. If a stat has increased, it will be in bold. You also have your skills in bold as well, which is very handy indeed. As long, we've got all the gang info on the left-hand side, and over on the right, we've got a little box for XP, so you can actually record your XP with a pen live the way we used to do back in '95. So that is the the printable gang sheet. We then have the gang cards here as well, which is really, really handy to have. I like to have both of these. The reason why I have the gang cards as well is because this actually has quick reference rules and stats for all the weapons that you might use. That's all good and well if you've got an encyclopedic memory like this and you tend to remember most of the stats for weapons, but it's good to have in front of you just in case, because you've got rules for any of those. I've got a neural flayer here. I have no idea how a neural flayer works, but it's very fun, and I've got it in front of me as a quick reference if I need it. This is also really good if you want to chop these up and actually make them into physical cards to use in your games, then that's great too. And you record things on here too, as much to your heart's content. So that's the print functions. What we'll do now actually is we'll head out of here before looking at the rest of it, and actually start to create our own gang. So let's go and create our own gang now and have a look at that. So if we head back to the gang creator part and select, I don't know, let's go with Chaos Cult today. We'll put test in for the name, and then we'll click the create green button, and that will take us back to our page. I've just gone with Chaos Cult because they're nice and simple to show you. Now, if we go into here and compare it to how it was with my campaign gang, obviously you'll notice a lot is missing, particularly the gang rating, because there are no fighters in here so far. First thing you're going to need to do before you add fighters though is edit. Hit that edit button. You can change the gang name here if you like. You can select a gang color. I'm probably going to go with, let's go with red. We'll go with the corn gang here. Which campaign they're in. Of course, they haven't been invited to a campaign yet, so we won't do that yet. The credits they start with, of course, you can adjust this if you're doing Ash Waste games and you want to up the credit value, but start off with 1,000 credits otherwise. We've got meat there. I don't want to do anything with that. Reputation stays at 1. Alignment, these guys are definitely not law-abiding, so we'll change that to outlaw. Allegiance, we will go with the blood god. Corn. Alliances, they're not part of an alliance yet, and gang status, they are active. So let's save that, and that's what we have for our current gang. So that's the sort of template for the gang's rules. This is also where I would go into my notes and add any sort of tactics cards and a little bit of a bio afterwards, but not quite yet. Now, the first thing I want to do is add a fighter. So over on the right, we've got the plus add fighter. So we're going to start off with that. So if I hit that, you can then select the types of fighters that we can go with. Now, I like to start with a leader. So going with Chaos Cult will give me the demagogue for 100 credits. Now, if I click on that, I can put a name in. We'll call this leader Demi, just for short. And then you have a little button here which says purchase, yes or no. Now, we do absolutely want to purchase this. If you put this on no, this will give you a free fighter, which is great and all, but it doesn't actually take the credits out. So you're not doing things legit if you're not actually buying these guys to start with. So click yes, and then hit the little tick there. And that will add the fighter to your gang. So we have a leader now. The first thing we're going to do with this leader is go and assign some equipment and a free skill. Now, leaders and champions do get a free skill, so we're going to do that too. But first of all, as you can see, the fighter's card has now come up, 100 credits, and we've got the stats for the fighter there as well. If we click on the tiny little pencil though, that will take you to the edit gang fighter page where we've got a whole load of other options. Of course, this can be a bit daunting at first, but the main thing is that you've got your fighter card there. with the XP advances, the cost, the adjustment, and the kills as well. You've then got stats, functions, and add XP. This stuff is really fairly straightforward. With the stats bit, that just tells you how they've performed in games. In the functions tab, we have that's where you can change the name and the type of fighter. You can edit the XP. And you can also edit the actual, the cost of the fighter there as well as enter any kills that they might have in the campaign too. We then have the Add XP tab, which is super straightforward. You just hit that and then put in the number of XP that they have gained in their last game, and that will up the XP for that fighter. That's really straightforward. The thing that I want to show you here, though, of course, is how to add equipment and skills. So we're going to go to equipment first and go to the little pencil on that. Now, if you remember, when in the settings, we restricted all the equipment and skills. So when you go into the equipment here, this should give you the restricted house list available for this particular fighter. It should do, it nearly always does anyway. So we'll have the different types of armor available here. We'll go with some mesh armor. We'll buy that instead of adding it, and that'll tell you the cost of it as well there. You can add it for free. That will, of course, up your gang rating, but it won't take money out of your kitty. So we'll buy that. So we've bought some mesh armor. We're also going to buy some other things. Let's go with some close combat weapons. We'll go with a sword maybe. Let's add a sword. And we'll add a pistol here as well. We'll go with an auto pistol. So that is very nice. We've got a pistol, a sword, and some mesh armor. Nice and simple for this demagogue here. The next thing I'm going to do is add a skill. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can add it in the little box where it says skills, or you can go to the advances bit. I'm actually just going to go straight to the advances bit because I think this is a better way of showing you how to do it mid-campaign as well. So I've hit that little plus above the advances section. You get a free skill. So your first skill is always free, and I think this is usually set to XP 0 and ganger value 0 when you have a first free skill, and this will also be restricted to the types of skills that you can take for that fighter. So for this guy, ferocity being one of the main skill trees, we're going to go with nerves of steel there. As you can see, the XP cost and the ganger value remains at 0. By advance, yes please, and that will assign that skill to the fighter. Easy peasy. The next thing we're going to look at, of course, is the sort of notes. So you do have notes here for your individual fighters, so you can create a little bio or an explanation for that fighter, as well as any sort of little notes or other stuff that you might want to put in there. Funny events that might happen in games. You've also got starve fighter, sell to guilders, delete fighter, send into recovery, kill fighter, and a history there as well. As you can see, the history does change as you do more stuff in Yaktribe. This can be tracked by your arbitrator so they can see if you're up to any funny business. Now, if you go back to your gang here, you can see that your fighter is in there with all the equipment. So if you do want to go and print out those gang cards and stuff, he's there. He's got the rules for the sword and the auto pistol and the mesh armor. You've also got the gang rating has gone up appropriately to 145 credits. So your current gang rating is 145 credits just with the demagogue. Now this is the point where you're probably going to add some champions, some gangers, and a load of other stuff to get yourself up to 1,000 credits. But that's all I'm really going to show you in terms of adding equipment and skills to a fighter. It's really that simple. The next thing you're going to want to have a look at is, of course, adding vehicles. If you do that, we're not going to bother with that today, but it's exactly the same as adding a fighter. Adding hired guns and pets. This is where you will add brutes, pets, and of course any of the hired guns that are available to your gang within this game. You can add them here in exactly the same way you would a fighter, and you can also name them too. But you then have, of course, the trading post, which is super fun. If you click on the trading post, you'll notice this is something you can do as a post-battle action after a game. You have rarity and legality in here, and you have two sliders. You can adjust these sliders up and down to your heart's content, and this will limit the rarity and legality of the items that are actually appearing down below in these drop-down menus. So we have everything from ammo to pistols and status items here. This is where you're going to go in and actually buy stuff from the trading post. Of course, make sure that you're buying it and not just assigning it for free again. And that is the right way to do it. We then have our gang image. So if you really want to, you can actually add a gang image to this gang once you've painted them up and taken some nice pictures. That's quite a nice thing to do. And you can also clone your gang here, which is I didn't talk about with with my last gang there. But if you want to clone this gang, this will make a copy of it, which is pretty cool. So you can actually go to someone else's gang in the community, and you can clone their gang idea. So if you find me on here, for example, Barber Fett, I'm known as. If you find me, you can actually clone my gangs. If you like those ideas, you can clone them and then play around with them to your heart's content and add and edit them as much as you like. But that is pretty much the long and short of it in terms of how you go about creating a gang in Necromunda. As you can see, things are fairly simple in terms of gang creation. There are lots and lots of options, but once you get the hang of it, you will be creating your own lists in no time. It really can be very, very straightforward indeed. This is the first part anyway. All I'm going to do today is really give you that information on how you might go about actually creating a gang list in Yaktribe for Necromunda. The next video, I'll go into a little bit more detail on some of the arbitrator tools and customization that you can do, as well as running a campaign and some of the extra stuff that you can do mid-campaign and more of the advanced settings within Yaktribe. But that's it for now. Stay tuned for the next video. Peace out.